Here with Danielle Kang at the Chevron Championship. Danielle, you've had a really solid season so far. You had a win, obviously, at the Hilton Grand Vacations Tournament of Champions. 3 other top 10s. Got to be feeling good coming into the desert this week.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I just checked out. Can you?
All good.
All right.
How you
I'm
feeling?
ready now. I'm ready now.
How you
Sorry.
feeling being in the desert this week?
Everybody's laughing.
All good.
I always love coming back here, and the weather is great, and the conditions are always impeccable. So I'm really excited to play some good golf course. It's a good testament to your entire golf game from tee to green, around the green. So it's kind of fun to have that challenge. I mean, it is a major championship, so getting the first one to kick off out in Palm Desert, it's been on our schedule for a long time. So excited to be back.
Is this the hottest start you've ever had coming into the year's first major?
No.
A win and 3 top 10s?
Oh, hottest. I thought you meant the weather.
Oh, no. Like the hottest, like you've been playing. You seem like you've been really on the past couple of months.
I don't know. Is it?
I think it's probably one of your best starts ever.
I've been playing pretty solid. I didn't play well. People were asking, you're not playing last week. I said, I am playing. They're like, well, I haven't seen you. I'm like, you got to scroll. Like, I'm not playing good right now. I'm like, don't be like that. But sometimes, I still don't, my game's still not exactly where I wanted it to be. And I was testing a lot of the stuff that I wanted to test last week to be ready for this week. But sometimes, over preparing and overdoing some of the things that are already good are tough to balance. But yeah, I've been playing pretty solid wherever we are. And but it's hard. It's tough.
What are some of the emotions being in Mission Hills for the last time for this event? How are you feeling about this being the last time here in the desert?
I guess I'm one of the lucky players, I guess, to say that I competed in the last Dinah Shore tournament when it was held the final time at Mission Hills. This place has a lot of memories. It has a lot of traditions, and I understand that. But sometimes we're so focused on the move right now that we have taken away the fact that, the CEO, Michael Worth, I think is his name, and he upped our prize funds by 60% and is now a $5 million purse. I understand that this is one of the most loved event, but we have to elevate this event. It is something, it's got history, it's got traditions, and it will be an integral part of the championship moving forward, but we need to have bigger prize money, and for the fact that he made it $5 million, I really thank him for that. And he elevated it literally in a week. It's instant. We have courtesy cars at major championships. We're competing for bigger prizes. Like it differentiates a major versus other golf tournaments.
There's been a lot of companies that have stepped up, like Chevron, but what have you noticed already? I mean, you mentioned the courtesy cars this week. I mean, how cool is it to have companies put their money where their mouth is and really back the LPGA Tour?
It's refreshing, to be honest, is because I'm lucky enough to not worry about some of the cash prizes and things like that. I understand sometimes when people look at how much money we make and they get thrown off about, oh, you're making extra amounts and you're making this much and you're just complaining. But let's kind of look at it from a broader perspective. I'm one of the players, but how about the average tour player? I mean, I made $6,000 last week, made the cut. I didn't break even last week. That's me budgeting. I have to drive. I have to rent a car. I have to get a hotel room. Luckily enough for me, I'm sponsored by BMW that provides me for the car, but that saves $500,000, et cetera. Like, we have to think about these things. So for us, when companies step up and give us an opportunity to make a living, make the tour better and broader, and for players to compete and to be an actual job, it's nice to see that. And major championships, what makes it a major? Bigger purse, better players, golf courses, difficulty, the level of the golf course. US Open is US Open because of what it is. We play amazing golf tracks. Same thing with KPMG Women's PGA Championship, the Open, British Opens. And we have to think about why this tournament is so special. Traditions are tradition, but for me, there's nothing permanent than change. And I really support whatever it needs to be to make the tour better in moving forward for the girls, for them to work, to make money, to make a living, and to not worry about making a cut and not breaking even.
Love that. Ken?
What traditions will you miss the most?
What do you mean, depending on
from
what?
this tournament?
Honestly, I haven't experienced any of the traditions yet. I guess we all expect people to jump into Poppy's Pond after we win, right? And I haven't done that, so I can't say I'll miss that. I'm pretty sure that David Foster and Dinah Shore created this event in 1972, am I correct? And Amy Alcott jumped in 1988. It took 16 years for the tradition to kick in, so you never know what the futures are gonna bring. And traditions are just, this golf tournament will be an integral part of this event, no matter what. But with that said, what we expect, same thing with Evian Championship. I'm sure when we win, they jump out and do parachute with the country flag. I mean, that is cool. So I'm really excited to see what Chevron Championship has to bring when we move to Houston.
You mentioned at CME last year, you're going to change up your team, you're going to gamble this year. What's led you to adapt to those changes so quickly?
I haven't adapted yet. I seem like I have, but it's still really difficult to work on the things that I'm working on off the golf course, physically, mentally. There are so many things that I don't feel that comfortable yet, and I have said I'm uncomfortable for a while. I know you're laughing. I know I'm finishing top 10s and winnings and finishing second, but it's more than that, right? It's about how I feel when I approach a shot. It's about how I want to execute it, and the way I understand if it goes to 2 feet, it goes to 2 feet, but it's how I got there, how the golf ball leaves the face. All that is something that I want to narrow down and compact and feel better about for the longevity of the game in my career. So I'm still not that comfortable.
How do you work on that process?
It takes time, repetition, and practicing the routines and practicing what I'm working on, finding the time to work out and working on the body parts that we have to work on, getting it stronger. Same thing with the golf game. Butch wants me to work on certain parts around the greens that I'm not quite expert at yet, but I have to work on it. And when you're playing, when the season starts, you have to keep competing, which means sometimes I have to take a hit and just try it, even if I don't feel comfortable. It might work out, it might not. That might cost me a bogey, it might not. But I have the luxury a little bit to work with that. I'm not as so focused that I have to make a cut or I have to make money this week. Like, that's not, it's 11 years down the road for me now, so where I have a little bit of a leeway for me to work with. So I think that's helping me work on things.
If you didn't have to balance playing tournaments, how long do you think it would take to get used to these changes?
Probably months, I would think, half a year. But then even then you have to apply it to a competition game, which is different. So on and off, ideally I would probably play a few events and then take a couple months to myself, few events, couple months, but that's not how it works. So we just kind of have to adapt to what's going on.
How do you give yourself grace? You know, obviously last week you said you didn't play as well with, you know, kind of still trying to get comfortable with those changes. How do you give yourself grace when you're trying to iron out those little details and get things exactly where you want them?
I'm just constantly being told that I have to be kinder to myself. And it's hard to be. I'm kind of a perfectionist, and I want things to be done exactly the way I want it, the way I see it, and it's not in my control. The only thing I can control is how I process things, and that's doing the best that I can.
One of my favorite things I think I've ever heard a player say is, I want to fail better.
Yeah.
How's that going for you? Are you failing better?
I believe I am. I've been chipping kind of weird, so I missed a couple greens on purpose last week, and I was talking about it with my coach, and they thought it was the most absurd thing they've ever heard. And my friend David Lipsky was like, he said, "You did what?" I said, "You've never done that?" And he goes, "No, nobody does that." I said, "But I have to figure it out eventually. So I have to keep chipping in a tournament scenario when I have to make an up and down. And you can't really recreate what you feel in a competition unless you're in competition." I've tried. Like, people can use gambling or putting money or whatever it may be. But for me, in that moment, there's nothing I want more than to make par from a specific place. And I can't recreate that unless it's at an event. So I'm just trying to miss hit and fail and see if I can recover the best that I can. It's an internal feeling that I'm working on. So technique's just part of it, and it's not most of it.
Now I'm curious, what did Butch have to say about that for last week? Like, again, missing on, like, trying to do something on purpose to put yourself in that situation.
He said, "Did you make up and down?" I said, "No." I missed two. I made the third one. I only did it 3 times, but I did try it on the third one, and he supports what I do. He's always gonna say, like, "D, I trust the work that you put in. However, you're gonna have to get it done. Just get it done. You have a job to do." So he'll always say that, is that I have a job to do.
Kent, do you have another?
As you've so well explained all these changes you're trying to make, how hard is it to try and impact and put all these changes in while going through competition?
It's hard. Simply, it's pretty difficult, for me at the least. It's always a work in progress. That's the beauty of golf. And I think sometimes you just get so carried away about playing well and what the results may be and what we should be doing or shouldn't be doing. You just kind of have to see the broader picture, and this is just part of life and just part of who you are, and momentarily, and being in the present and working on what you need to work on now is the best way to approach something.
Awesome. So you played last week at the JTBC Classic. Are you typically a player that plays the week before a major, or do you kind of like to take some time off before majors? Or not?
I don't necessarily have an answer for that.
Mm-hmm.
I just always played in Carlsbad and here. I have a lot of friends down there, so I go down there, and it's one of the most beautiful places. But I think the conditions really threw me off. So I played and drove here on Sunday night and practiced here and played because I just needed to get that kind of conditions out of my head. For me, the ball didn't bounce the way I wanted to. It didn't react the way I saw it. So I didn't want that kind of imagery in my head, and I had to practice it and grind it out this week. And I think it's different. I'm not a player that goes to the major golf courses early and practice it and then go back. Mm-hmm. I just don't do that. I've tried, it didn't work.
Well, and like you said, last week's conditions, I think people assume California golf is kind of one way, and last week, obviously, it's definitely different. You said you were out there practicing on Sunday night, but how do you really make your brain switch and go, okay, I'm playing on POA, I'm playing where it's kind of wet, I'm playing where things aren't going to roll out, to Mission Hills where I can put a 6-footer straight at the hole and be confident it's not going to bounce offline, and the golf course is really firm and fast.
How do I do what?
How do you switch your brain?
I think it's calibrating to the golf course conditions of the week and practicing what the speed of the greens will be, how the ball releases and bounces out. It's just, you got to put the time and the practice in. The greens are, I don't think, as rolling as fast as it will be yet. So I'm a little bit nervous about that because I'm not a fan of the green speed changing the days of the competition. You just show up and all of a sudden it's 3 feet faster, and because we're doing practice drills every day to calibrate to them. So, but I think so far around the greens and how the greens are reacting, it's going to be a pretty consistent weather. It's not going to be raining all of a sudden randomly. The balls are going to release the way it is. Around the greens are really protected around here. The rough is kind of thick. You get really different lies. You're going to see some really weird chips and bad chips and good chips. So it's going to be interesting. And 18, people ask me how I'm going to play that. I can't hold the green. There's a misconception of how far we hit the ball, and I don't hit 220 yards. So 220 yards with a 5-wood, so I will not be going for that unless I have 170. And even then, I don't know if my ball flight can hold the green with the 5-iron. So it's just we have to understand how hot it gets, how firm the greens get, and how we're going to play. So,
are you a firm and fast kind of player?
Yeah, I like it, but everyone's really focused on 18. But that's why specifically that one, it's not going to be playable the way we want it to. We're going to have a mid-iron to be able to hold that green that flight, right? You're going to have speed to have the ball flight. I'm not DJ, so I don't hit it. I don't hit it that high and that soft with a 5. So it's play it as it lies, and I'm kind of excited to see how this golf course plays. And yeah.
And then last question for me. We talk about small changes. We talk about the details for you. What are some of your goals this week besides the obvious one on Sunday?
To be frank, goals are, I have my own goals that I want to set and way I want to play. And obviously I don't compete in a tournament to not win. But I think my goal is for people, when they watch me on TV this week, to understand that there's more going on in the world, that there is a war going on in Ukraine. I want people to understand that it's not about whether I am playing well or I'm playing bad. I think I just want to use the platform for them to see that, hey, you can help. And UNICEF has gone out of their way to provide medical supplies to these people. And there's a Blue Dot hub that they're trying to open up for migrating and refugees. I want people to know that that is going on, and that we have to be kinder and bigger and try to see how we can make a difference. And if there's any way that they can do it, I hope that me playing golf, they'll just be reminded of that and know that they can help. UNICEF has done really great work, and I just want to play the best golf that I can play this week. Ignorantly as said, for me, all I'm worrying about is how well I'm going to play this week, but there are other things that are going on, so.
That's the perfect place to end it. Good luck this week.
Cool. Thank you, guys.
Play well.